si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave acts in Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Bësal mu fine. Wave, your money is yours.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances. Not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap. All in one. All for you. Tap in. Zap in.
We are always grateful to our sponsors. It's Coffee Time with Peter Gomez on Tuesday, the 25th of November 2025, which, as we told you earlier, is the birthday of the Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, with whom we spent the last 1 hour. Next is our next guest, Mr. Kebba Foon, a direct descendant of the Gambia's greatest son, or rather one of the Gambia's greatest sons, Edward Francis Small, that pioneering nationalist, journalist, and trade unionist who laid the foundations of modern Gambian political consciousness. After living most of his life in the West, in the United Kingdom to be precise, Mr. Foon has decided to return home to the Gambia, bringing with him stories of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring pull of Gambian identity as he reconnects with the land and people that shaped his heritage. Mr. Foon, welcome to West Coast Radio for the first time, and Coffee Time with Peter Gomez in particular.
Thank you very much. I've been watching your program. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, and thanks for spending the morning here with us today. Tell us more about yourself.
On my Gambian side, I was Edward Francis Small was like a great uncle. He was the brother of my great grandfather, Catherine Small. The Smalls were at the time a very influential in the Gambia. He was born in 1890. He grew up in Banjul. He was very, very active creating the, in creating what he called the Ratepayers Association. His political struggle was basically with the British colonial administration, fighting for better rights for the citizens of Banjul, Bathurst as it then was. So he handed the torch to my father, and I was present. I had come home with my dad. He asked me one morning, Sunday morning, let's go and I'll show you someone. He took me to his uncle Edward, and he looked at me, Uncle Edward looked at me. I was a 7-year-old child, and he began to cry. And as a child, I was mystified. So I said, why? When we went home, I said to him, why was he looking at me and crying? He said, because he realized that all his life he had committed himself to the welfare of the people of Bathurst to the point he never married and he never had children. And that's why he began to cry. So then I remember him telling my father, he said, Kebba, you have to take up the torch and finish the work. And that is what motivated my father, K.W. Foon, as he was known, to get into politics. He joined, I think it was before the UP, the days of the United Party, but he did his best. He campaigned for independence. He was one of the people who signed the Independence Declaration in London, and he was committed to a better Gambia. However, his way was different. Those days, they looked at the power, and it still is, they were looking at the people. It was Gaba Johumpa. It was P.S. Njai. It was our founding father, Sir Dawda. So it was tribally based and based on an individual. My father had lived in England. He had campaigned for both the Conservatives and the Labour. He saw government as a modern democracy, and that is what he tried to do. He was totally unsuccessful. He stood for numerous elections, from Banjul to Kaur, but Bakau, where we lived. But the weight against him of traditional tribal politics was too much for him. And as a tribute to him, when he was old, I said one day, I said, Dad, do you have any regrets? He said, of course, and he began to cry. It's very hard when your father begins to cry in front of you. And I knew what he meant. All that he had strived to do had come to nothing. The early years of the Jawari government, he was a great president. I have never heard anything bad about him personally. I've read his book. But the elements around him began to lead him astray. I wouldn't say they led him astray, they began to betray him. There's a time when I came back, there was a saying, I don't know if it's correct, but they said, Fangkung, Fangkung. Amsa Benz, Amsa Kir, Noko Ame Bahna.
Okay. And some of the regrets that your father lamented, did he go into detail?
He didn't have to.
You knew for yourself?
I watched as a child. See, a child sees a lot of things that adults don't see. I watched him as a child. I watched his enthusiasm, his zeal, his love for his country, but more than that, his love for Africa. He was of that generation. One day, I'll give you a little example. He came to London, I was driving around, and he stop. I thought, what's wrong? He said, no, that's where we used to meet. I said, who? He began, Nkrumah, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Tom Mboya, Jomo Kenyatta. He began to name all the great leaders of Africa. The leaders, the vision they had for a United States of Africa. They had vision, and that vision was completely betrayed. It wasn't betrayed by the leaders. They were visionaries, especially Nkrumah. I am of the Nkrumah generation. We saw independence. We saw what happened with Ghana. We saw the days of national pride. We saw the days of the Black Star shipping line, Ghana Airways, so many things. We had such a vision. And my generation, we feel that we were betrayed and we ourselves failed. I have to confess for my generation that we failed our country. Now I will give the background. The background was this. We left Gambia. I left in 1968 to go to America. Came back in 1970. Now, others started coming home, my sixth form classmates, and we began to talk. And I said, boy, we want to help our country, but the politicians are only interested in getting rich. That was back in the early 70s. And basically, I met with a few of them. not just Wolof, Mandinka. We had conversations, and the choice my generation, was confronted with was that you came back with your degree. There were very few educated Gambians at the time. So more or less straight away, you went in as a permanent secretary, head of a parastatal, and straight away the conflict began. Because they wanted what was best for the country, to fulfill the vision. The politicians had other ideas, and they were able to block and frustrate many of my generation. But having said that, we were basically faced with three choices. They would call you in, Sumarakalobga, especially the days of, you heard of the Kent Street Vu, very, very active. This is Kurosala, very, very active. And they would call you in. What do you want? I'm going to plus. Do you want a job? We'll put you in. What do you want? Or they would say, do you want to go into business? We'll send you to Commercial Bank, Gambia Commercial Development Bank. GCDB. And they will, they'll fix you. Oh, by the way, you don't need to repay the loan. This was the general thing. Or they would say, Sumaraka, you are disturbing us.
You're a thorn in our side.
Exactly. And they would say, how about a scholarship? Where do you want to go? America? We can arrange it. Oh, by the way, don't rush to come back. Those were the choices. And if you didn't if you didn't accept any of those, then they would try to frustrate you. I will give you an example. Somebody we would all know. He was a recalcitrant. He worked in the customs. They kept him there 5 years without a single promotion. They broke him. Eventually, he joined the government. He wound up as an ambassador. So when I say we betrayed our generation, we did not stand for our principles. We buckled under the weight of the system, as it was known. For me, my path, when I came home, my dad said, okay, son, you're home now. Don't think that you're going to sit here in comfort. We lived at Cape Point, life of luxury. He said to me, don't think you're going to just sit here and relax. Get out there, get a job, find yourself a place to live. And by the way, if you get any girl pregnant, I'll make sure you marry her. That was K.W. Foon. At the time, I thought he was harsh. He was difficult. But today, those hardships that I went through in Banjul, when I lived in Jim, Senegal, I lived in Haddington Street, I lived in Old Perseverance Street where it used to flood, and I know what it's like. But today, I see that as a preparation. I've lived in Europe, I've seen how hard it can be, and basically there's no place like home. So that's basically
when you were advised to get a job, did you get a job? And if yes, where did you get that job?
Well, the first place I had to do was find a place to live. And he told my mother, he said, I don't want to see you. He said, you can come home for Sunday lunch, because he used to have a regular family meal. But apart from that, I don't want to see you. So I got a place. I think the first place I lived was in Buckle Street. I worked for Kamal Milky, like many, many people did, at what was then the Adonis Hotel. So I was just beginning to find my feet. But yeah, that's where I started, Adonis Hotel.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a lot of areas that, you would like us to, touch on. For instance, the founding of the Vanguard newspaper.
That was my mother. My mother was English. She was in the north, Bolton. Very straight, direct people. And her father was a mill engineer, totally working class, typical of his age. But she was very interested in journalism. However, things didn't work out the way she wanted. Her mother died in 1936 when she was 16 years old. Her father came home after the funeral. He said, "Your mother's gone, you take over." She had to look after her aged grandparents, a difficult sister, and her own father, whose attitude was he would come home, there's your housekeeping money, and off he would go to the pub. So she had a career lined up with the Bolton Evening News. Job ready to go, killed it. But that spirit of journalism never left her. So when we came in 1955, my father began to campaign against Kebba, as it happens, but he also began to develop political ties. So as part of that, she actually started a paper called the Vanguard. In fact, I believe she took it over from somebody.
Okay.
But for 2 years, she ran articles very critical of the colonial administration. Now, it so happened that my father was very close to the late lawyer Jacob Lawrence Mahoney. So he had access as a member of the LegCo, I believe, Legislative Council. He had access to a lot of secrets and things that the colonial administration did not want revealed. Jacob Mahoney leaked them to my father and to my mother. She published them in the Vanguard. So it was a great embarrassment to the colonial administration. But yes, from there...
Do you know if the administration complained, tried to do anything, to stifle even, just kill the paper?
No, the British being the British, he was invited to what was then Government House. He began to be invited to functions. They tried to talk to him, but he was a typical Syrian. He was not having it. And he had lived in England for 9 years. He had seen the inequalities. He had seen and experienced raw discrimination. He did not like the British. So their efforts failed. But then the whole thing began to change because there was, what Harold Macmillan called the wind of change. So their attitude began to change. So they began to modify their attitudes.
Okay. And then on to the founding of Radio Gambia?
Yeah, Radio Gambia, it was decided at that time, the only radio station you had was Senegal. There was Chaîne Inter and the national station. So, and I don't think it was all the time, it was several hours a day. So it was decided that Gambia needed a radio station, but they had no idea where to start. So it so happened there was a gentleman at what used to be called the Information Department called Captain George Peters. So he set up the equipment in his garage under his house. And with my mother, they began to create 2 hours of radio a day. I think it was from 6 in the evening till 8. And
so your mother was instrumental in the founding of Radio Gambia?
Oh, definitely. She, and then they started getting in other people, like I seem to remember Mansour Njai. He did the Wall of
Before that, there would have been a certain Badulo.
And of course Badulo.
Because he seems to, be given all the credit for the creation of Radio Gambia.
That is true. He worked with my mother. But my mother started it with George Peters. Then they brought in Badulo. And then it progressed from there to the GRTS.
So you are adding a new element to the history of Radio Gambia, because I don't think your mother, features anywhere in the story. What was her name again?
Marion.
Okay.
Marion Foon.
Marion Foon.
Yeah, she was known everywhere as Mrs. Foon.
Okay.
That was her identity.
Okay. Probably because maybe, it might be written somewhere just Mrs. Foon, and because they didn't get the Marion, probably they thought,
Yeah, Marion, that was her name. But she was just Mrs. Foon.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, she started it, that is true, with Badulo, the 3 of them, and Captain George Peters.
Okay.
Who is totally forgotten.
And can you remember the evolution of the radio station?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Because it was mainly, again, it took over where the bulletin the government had a paper in the 50s that was called the Gambia News Bulletin.
Okay.
And that was the official paper of the government. Right? So the same thing with Radio Gambia. It evolved from there, and I lost track.
Okay.
But mainly because it was mainly just government information.
We're talking to Mr. Kebba Foon, a descendant of Edward Francis Small. After many years abroad, he's decided to come home, and he's sharing part of his Tuesday morning today with us here on Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. Why have you decided to come back home when increasingly the young people of this country are risking life and limb to get to where you already are and have been for decades now?
Well, for me it was easy. Because I was born in Britain, I had a British passport. So I would say, but I will tell you, the motivation for coming back starts with why did I leave? I spent 7 years here working, sometimes unemployed. I was part of what was called the frustration army. No job, no girlfriend.
No job, I can understand. No girlfriend. Maybe somebody would say through your own fault.
No. What was very prevalent and used to happen, you would have your girlfriend. I had a girlfriend, but you'd go walking along what used to be called Marina, near what is now the courts, I believe. No, what is it? The Attorney General's chambers. Yeah, okay, we used to walk along
there. That was called Marina Foreshore.
Exactly. And a Benz would pull up and some sugar daddy would pick up your girlfriend and go off.
Sugar daddy syndrome.
Do you know how that kills your heart?
No, I don't, because that's never happened to me, luckily.
I've lived it. As a man, a young man, you just feel worthless. This guy pulls up, a married man, Chepe syndrome.
Yeah. So he's addressing my sound technician.
I know. She's smiling. I know it's still true. You get up in the morning, no breakfast. I was fortunate, at least I could afford, a cup of tea and you go all the way, used to go all the way, walking all the way to the offices, the shops, all the way to the ferry terminal. By this time, it's 1 o'clock. It is hot. You go home, dragging your feet. You go home, ana anbi. Dang fi buy one copper in dawal. You say in English, where's lunch? Did you leave any money here for us to cook? You just want to die. All the heat, your frustration, you just want to sit down and cry. That was the frustration army. I was part of it for 7 years.
Okay, so no job, no girlfriend.
You come home, no food, start out with no breakfast. You get home, they ask you, did you leave money here? You do not feel a man.
That was really happening in the Gambia?
I lived it.
Oh.
I lived it for 7 years. Saturday night, your girlfriend would say, how about, there was a discotheque. What was it called? Was it City Pride? Yeah, Jibu. Okay, that was the place, talk of the town. Can we go to the discotheque? You have no money. You begin to make excuses. Well, I am going. What can you say? If you are lucky, I don't want to be tribalist, but we used to have on Box Bar what was called Jola Valley. Jola Valley was where the maids and they used to gather. They used to have their own program.
Is it the Bal Poussière program?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know about it.
Well, let's just say I heard about it.
I lived it. I lived in James, Senegal. I used to see members like myself. I used to stand at my gate. I would see them going and coming back. Sometimes they've hooked somebody. And they say, boy, gisuloma de. When I you Bal Poussière. Gisuloma de. You didn't see me. So this was a sort of local entertainment when you had no money. But it was a hard life.